Brittany, Sade, welcome to the Plant Yourself podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's exciting to have someone else out here
Yeah.
in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, not virtual. Yeah, thank you for inviting me out. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you're rocking your gear, your shirt.
Oh yeah, animals are not ingredients, and a lot of people said that this slogan in particular helped them put things into a different perspective when they think about food and what food really is. So this is one of the best sellers. I sell out of this every time. So yeah.
And is that your slogan?
No, I actually saw it somewhere a long time ago, and it just always stuck with me. And it was I was like, I need to put that on a t-shirt, And so whenever I wear it, I just have some of the best conversations about it. This and the Got Non-Dairy Milk t-shirt. So especially when I'm at the grocery store and I'm reaching for my coconut milk, and one guy was like, I'm feeling a little judged. And I'm like, why? So we have, a non-judgmental conversation about the dairy industry and, what it actually is. And then sometimes they put their cow milk down and pick up some plant milk. So they're doing a lot of, I like to call it silent activism. So yeah.
Yeah, they work 24/7.
Oh yeah. When I'm not working, the t-shirts are working. Yeah.
Cool. So we're going to get to that because you have a apparel company.
Yes.
Right? Vegan apparel company.
Mm-hmm.
But let's start. Let's go way back.
Yeah.
You were not raised a health food conscious vegan, right?
No. Probably the complete opposite of that. And before I became vegan, I've been vegan for almost 5 years now. And before I became vegan, I was eating really bad. And the way that I was eating caused me to have a lot of health issues. I was pre-diabetic. I had clogged arteries. I had bad skin. I didn't think was horrible at the time, but when I go back and look at pictures, I'm like, ew. And
how did you know you had clogged arteries?
So when I went to a cardiologist, and when I lived in Houston, I forget his name, but he's the vegan doctor out there.
Baxter Montgomery?
Yes, I went to his office because I just wanted to go because he was vegan.
It's like roughly how old were you when?
This was a few years ago, actually. And so when I got my doctor's report, my arteries were fine, but I was able to see they weren't like 100% great at that time. And so I was like, if they're not 100% great right now, then I know back then they were horrible. And I knew that because I used to have these really bad chest pains, and they used to wake me up in the middle of the night, and I would wake up crying because I didn't know what it was.
And how old were you then?
Oh, with the chest pains?
Yeah.
Maybe in my 20s. I was in my 20s, definitely in my 20s. And
okay. So up to all that time, you were just sort of eating.
I was
what
eating
everybody around you was eating.
More meat and dairy than I was eating vegetables. And I drank a lot of water, and I thought that I was kind of balancing everything out because I was drinking so much water. I was like, maybe I'm flushing it all out or whatever. But I ate meat every meal. And I ate out a lot of fast food, a lot of burgers and things like that. I was a cheese addict, and people still to this day are like, I still can't believe you don't eat cheese. Because it was
mentioned
really
taking blocks of cheese out, microwaving them, and just sort of eating them.
Yeah, and then you think about it, that's disgusting. I would get like a block of cheddar cheese and put it in a bowl and put it in a microwave and just pick at it and eat it. And I don't know why.
Part of me thinks I really would have enjoyed that. Like I never thought of that.
Yeah, and I would sprinkle it on every single thing that I ate. So, and it would cause me to, now that I know this, it would cause me to have like these skin boils on my skin. And when I stopped eating dairy, they stopped. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, let me test this. I have to test this. And so I ate cheese again, and they would come back. And so I'm like, okay, all right, I'm done with the cheese. After you learn about cheese and, what it is and how it affects you, I just was like, I don't need it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got to do one thing. I realized I didn't look closely enough at the audio and video. Like there's this little thing in my brain that's going, did I press the buttons right?
Okay.
So that one's good.
Okay.
And that one's good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brittany. This little gremlin running around my brain
like,
going,
is it right?
What if you waste this entire hour?
Well, good thing you stopped me, because I would be talking for your head, a hole in your head.
Oh well, let's bring it back. So I'm a little confused. Like, so you went to see this vegan cardiologist, Baxter Montgomery, but you weren't vegan at that point.
I was.
You were.
Mm-hmm.
I see. So that was.
I was.
So what was the turning point?
So what made me change everything was, one, just being tired of seeing my friends and family die off from preventable health issues. And it was just like, is this how my life is going to turn out? Is this how life is supposed to be? You get old and older and you get sick and die? That doesn't seem right. And so my aunt, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she beat it before, but it came back and it kind of spread throughout her body. So, during that time when she was placed in hospice, I did a lot of research, watched a lot of documentaries, popular ones like Forks Over Knives and Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, and a lot of YouTube, YouTube University. Uh-huh. And I learned about Dr. Sade and, alkaline eating and things like that. And so I took this information to her and I was like, look, you beat cancer before, you're going to beat it again. But, we're going to do a little bit more natural ways, in addition to what you're doing, the chemotherapy and whatnot. And so she was looking at me like, no, because I kind of felt like she knew she was at the end of her road and was just going to live it out as she wanted to. So a couple of weeks later, we got a call and was saying that she wasn't doing too good. So when we came back to visit her, and she was just completely different than what she was a few weeks ago. She couldn't talk. I don't even know if she knew that we were there, And so just seeing her die like that it just hit me really hard. Mm-hmm. And so I took everything that I learned and I went back home and threw everything in the trash. All the processed foods in the cabinets, Quaker oatmeal, all the other stuff, I just threw it away. And I went to the grocery store, just bought a whole bunch of fruits and vegetables. I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm going to do something with it. I still had troubles giving up cheese. But once I learned more about it, was put myself through tests, and a couple months later, I was like, I'm done. And I haven't looked back since.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you went to your aunt with this information, you hadn't embodied it yet. You're like, look what I learned.
Yeah.
You should do this thing.
Yeah. I was starting to put, some things into place, like just eating more produce and things like that. But I wasn't just fully, strictly, vegan at that time. Mm-hmm. I did lower my consumption of, meat and dairy, but I was still eating it. You can't go to Philly without getting a Philly cheesesteak. So whenever we went up there, that's, we would get several of them and eat them. And so the last time I went up there and everybody got their cheesesteaks, and I'm like, I'm going to hold off this time. I'm not going to eat it. But I wasn't fully vegan at that time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you come from Houston to Philadelphia?
No, we were in Virginia at that time. Yeah, I'm originally from Virginia. I moved to Houston when my mom, I talked to my mom, she was having health issues, and I kind of just dropped everything and was like, coming out there, we're going to do some changes. And, came out there, and then the hurricane came through and we lost our home. And my mom's like, I'm not doing this again. And she wanted to move back to the East Coast where all our family is, but we didn't want to go back to Virginia. So she wanted to move to Raleigh, and I'm like, I'm following you. And now I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So the home was flooded.
Yeah. So we evacuated and went to Dallas. And we had to stay out there for a few weeks because it wasn't safe to come back. So when we came back, our home was just ruined. Yeah. So.
I don't know if in your advocacy you make the connection between what happened in Houston and what we eat.
I didn't at the time, but now when I'm thinking about it and then just seeing how it's starting to become so often, starting to happen so often, it's like we have to do something. And I may not be the person that's going to change the world by myself, but with as a collective, we can all do our part and stop having that thought that, if they're doing it, then I don't need to do it, because, every single person matters. Yeah.
Right. So let's talk a little bit. You mentioned Forks Over Knives. You mentioned Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. A lot of people have seen those. You also mentioned Dr. Sade.
Yes.
I believe was a Honduran herbalist.
Yes.
So when I look him up on the internet, the first several sites are all like debunking pseudoscience, extremely negative. Talks about like the discredited alkaline diet and all that. So how did you find him and sort of swim your way through the mainstream denigration of his work?
I went to it was a little health seminar, and I met one other guy who was an herbalist, and we were just talking, and I brought up my aunt's cancer and things at the time, and we were just talking, and then he mentioned Dr. Sade to me. And then once I went and I was looking on Facebook, then I just started seeing Dr. Sade stuff. Like you hear about one thing, and then all of a sudden it's just starting to come to you. You start seeing it everywhere. And so then I just started doing my own, looking up about him. And at that time, I didn't really see a lot of negative feedback about his work. And so...
so you were seeing it filtered through a community that was predisposed to be empowered by what he was talking about.
And a lot of people who had, a lot of life-changing experiences by taking his herbs and following, the nutritional guide that I don't think he put it together, but that was put together, and just eating those foods. And a lot of people have been able to reverse a lot of health issues. And so when I applied it to my own life, I was able to see that, I lost the weight. I wasn't having achy joints and swollen joints anymore. Prediabetes went away, and I did some other herbal cleanses and things, and I even went to see him speak. And so it was just, being in his presence felt really, comfortable and at peace, where it was like, okay, I feel like he knows what he knows what he's talking about, and he's helping so many people. So, just I think experience trumps everything overall than what everybody else talks about.
Right. I think it's also really interesting because there's this entire, to me, alternate community of health advocates in the Black community who didn't get the funding, didn't get the research support, are saying pretty much the same things as McDougall and Campbell and Barnard, and yet they didn't have the structures of authority. Yeah. And so that, like the first thing you wouldn't see about T. Colin Campbell, I mean, you'll see plenty of people want to debunk him, but you don't get like the Wikipedia page comes up saying discredited, debunked. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm wondering, like within the Black community, there must be plenty of sort of elders whom I haven't heard of or been exposed to, who have been preaching plant-based, healthy, juicing herbs for a long time. Yeah, and there are. And I don't know if there's a lot of them that maybe want to go mainstream like that, because, there's this fear that, holistic doctors or herbalists are being chased, or, being wanted for their information and killed off or whatever. So I don't know if it's just a matter of them just not getting that exposure or them not wanting that exposure. But, the information is out there and within these communities. And I'm like, that's why I say within social media, I'm grateful for social media. A lot of people aren't. They think social media is the devil. Yeah. It can be if it's not being used correctly, but I use it to, build myself up, for my own personal growth and business growth. And I've met so many amazing people from social media alone that I've even met in person, and we're all on the same journey of trying to reverse, what we've done in the past when it comes to our health. And so, it's just I think when you go searching for those type of things, you find it. Yeah. So one thing that always surprises me when I'll talk to someone like you who have, decided, okay, there's got to be a better way. And you say it as if it's a natural thing to wonder. And yet 99% of people live the same experience as you and don't wonder that, don't think about, oh, maybe it's the food, maybe it's what we're putting in our bodies, maybe it's not the fate of all human beings to just decline and get sick and die painfully.
Yeah.
Like, what did you have, like an educational background or a work background that kind of predisposed you? Like, what made you ask the question that so few people ask?
Just seeing the people that were closest to me, get sick, and just wondering if that was my future, if that's just something that we're supposed to do. And so even with my own health issues, I thought it was normal because that's what I was seeing in everybody else. But something in me was just like, this is not right. Like, I don't think God put us here to suffer, with these health issues and things like that. And I don't think it's a matter of people not thinking about it or questioning it. I think it's just a matter of people protecting their own eating habits and addictions. Because, as we all know, food can be an addiction just like a drug. And so people, they like to protect those. They don't want to give up what they're eating, because, for example, like, say, they'll blame things on the genes. Some things are genetic, but, they'll say Uncle Tommy has heart disease, so I'm also going to have heart disease. But we're also not talking about Uncle Tommy's addictions and Uncle Tommy's lifestyle that's contributing to his heart disease. So I'm just kind of but it's, I think everybody has that thought of, when it comes to their own health, because if people are living the way that they're living right now, they are having health issues and they are questioning it, but they don't want to do anything about it because it goes against the things that they enjoy. Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, you having these skin boils that just appeared, and I'm imagining were not particularly like yummy or attractive.
No, not at all.
Like it's like you almost want that as opposed to like slow growing heart disease or prediabetes. Mm-hmm. It's like you eat a piece of cheese and all of a sudden,
right,
you turn gross.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, okay,
yeah.
This is like a really good feedback loop.
Yeah, and it's when you start to experience and see things for yourself, it makes it easier to make the changes that you're making, and especially after you read about it. And then you see that it's happening within you, you want to make those changes. But again, some people, they just kind of bury their heads in the sand and, just hope it'll all go away. But it doesn't.
So you started making these changes. You have a few sort of 2017, 2019 photo before afters on your website. Mm-hmm. So it didn't take long.
No.
For this very significant, obvious physical transformation. Like, it wasn't just, you had to walk around showing people your blood work.
Right.
You're like, you look different.
Yeah.
What did your family and friends and social circle make of it?
I think everybody experiences the same thing when they start making changes in their diet and, your family members or your friends aren't familiar with what you're doing, so they think you're harming yourself. Like, you're losing too much weight. You need to get your protein, or, where are you going to get your nutrients and blah, blah, blah. You get that kind of feedback. And at first, to me, it was like, I need you all support, not you guys, projecting your fears on me as far as to what you think is going to happen. But I've been researching this stuff, so I know I'm going to be fine. Uh-huh. And but I was almost 200 pounds, and so within the first month and a half, I lost almost 30 pounds, and that's when I was doing a lot of raw eating and herbal cleanses and things like that. And so once I dropped the weight, people were like, okay, what's going on, Brittany? Mm-hmm. And so that's when I took that time to educate people, but I think I was still on that defensive side where it's like, well, you're eating that burger and this is what's going to happen inside of you when you keep eating that burger. And so my friends started calling me a vegan bully. Okay. So I've changed, for all my friends who are watching this, they can say and vouch that I've changed. And so now I just live by example. And, I'm able to show, I was doing a lot in the past that people are currently doing that they think they can't make these same changes that I'm making because they feel like it might be too much or they're not doing it right. So just, continuing to share my, transformations and what I was going through in the past, then they're able to see like, okay, I can do that too. And even in my book, I wrote about, things I was dealing with, depression, just upset about everything, angry, always fighting, feeling suicidal, and having people read that and then seeing who I am before they're like, who am I reading about? Because this is not you. So, just living by example and showing people that it can be done. I went through a phase where I lost a lot of weight and I was able to, put weight back on, but in a more healthy way without filling myself up with a lot of inflammatory foods that was harming me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you have a meme that I guess is you said, which is like people want you to be well, but not like better than them.
Yeah.
Right? What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So there are some people that want to do the things that you're doing, and they're not doing it, but they see that you're doing it. So there's some type of envious feelings or jealous feelings about, seeing other people doing things that they want to do, but they're not doing it and succeeding at it. I've been told, some not so nice things from people about, how I look or what I'm doing and what it's not right how I talk to people or whatever, just trying to bring me down from what it is that I'm trying to do. And I've also seen it in other people, how they would treat others that were also doing, I guess better than them or doing the things that they want to do, but they're not taking action on it. Yeah. And so it can be discouraging for a lot of people, but just, standing in your truth and doing what you know is right will help you overcome those negative remarks, on your life that when you're doing the right thing. Mm. Yeah.
So you said talking about depression, suicidal ideation, you'd written about a toxic relationship and breakup around the time your aunt died.
Yeah.
So was this like stuff that was happening as you were transitioning?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's a lot of full-time jobs at once.
Yeah.
Right? Like
yeah.
I can feel like a molecule of self-pity, and all I want to do is like eat some crap. Mm-hmm. Like this isn't even like significant in terms of my life. Like I can just I got a bath,
yeah.
I got a boo-boo of some sort. But to be kind of in the shit.
Yeah.
And to not revert to the comforts that had sustained you in the past. What did you turn to for support, for dopamine, to keep going, to a different way to sort of self-medicate?
Yeah, it was hard. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like it was easy. It was very hard because I felt like I was in it alone, and not being able to talk about it to people that I was close with because they didn't really understand what I was going through at that time. And so I went to websites like meetup.com and just met with like-minded people. And also finding that comfort in social media from people who were also on the same journey and I was able to relate to. But just, the more I researched, since all that information was so new to me, it was like, okay, I have to do this. I'm excited to do it. I'm really excited to learn about what it is, that's going to help heal me and heal me of all these issues that I'm having. It's never, easy to, go through a breakup and then having someone close to you pass away, and then try to fix yourself up at the same time. So, during that time, I was still battling a little bit of depression, and, crying yourself to sleep at night and things like that. But just waking up every day like, okay, I can either sit here and cry about it and not do anything and just keep myself in the slums, or I can wake up and try to keep pushing myself so that way I can get to my desired goal of, being healthier, feeling better, and, teaching people, my family members, because that's the main reason why I wanted to change my life, was to let my family members know that, okay, you might have been diagnosed with this, but this doesn't have to be a jail sentence for you. I want it to be that walking billboard for them to let them know that they can also eat healthy, enjoy their life, and reverse some of the issues that they're having, like, high blood pressure, diabetes, and heart disease, and all that stuff. So that was my main motivation to keep pushing with my family. Yeah.
Was there like a turning point emotionally where like, okay, like I've made it through the worst of this?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, after several months, I would even say over a year of going through that really dark place in my life and just kind of maneuvering through those emotions, I don't know if it was just one day I just woke up and was just like, life is awesome, but after eating these foods and flooding my body with a bunch of nutrients, you start feeling, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, you get these random bursts of like euphoric feelings where you're just super happy for no reason. It just feels like, and and whoever's listening might also know this feeling that I'm talking about, where it's just, you just feel so good and your perspective about things change. Mm-hmm. You start noticing things, differently when you go out. Like I was noticing, stopping and literally smelling the flowers. Like, oh my gosh, look at that beautiful flower. Look at that little roach walking over there, and that water bug or whatever. Well, maybe not, but you just notice all the nature and the abundance around you. And you think about, you just kind of tie your life into the way that nature, what nature goes. Like nature goes through all these seasons, and then in summertime, everything just blooms. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I had that thought that it's not the end, this is a new beginning. Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the thought that, this euphoric feeling is like foreign to us.
Yeah.
Or
we should be feeling it all the time.
Like that should be sort of ground state.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like being connected to nature, or feeling like we're a part of it. It's yes. If we're eating all this unnatural, processed, hyper palatable, and death mm-hmm. induced foods, it's almost like it's like a filter that we can't see past.
Yeah. And when you learn about those foods, you understand why you were feeling depressed and why you were feeling like shit. Oh, excuse me.
I said shit first.
Okay.
We're good.
Why you're feeling crappy all the time. You figure out finally oh, that's why I was feeling that way. And it was, we're eating foods that are eating away at our brains. We're not feeding ourselves properly. We're feeding ourselves toxic food, and our guts and our brains are connected. So if you're feeding your gut toxic foods, you're also feeding your brain toxic things as well. So, when I had that aha moment, I was like, aha, mm-hmm. All right, now I could help people more, people who are, going through things, just like, let's start with changing what you put into your body. If you're not changing that, at least, and you're not giving yourself a fighting chance mm-hmm. to battle the things you're battling. We want to depend on medications and things like that, but medication is just like putting a Band-Aid on over the wound. We have to rip that Band-Aid off and really get to what's causing these wounds,
Yeah, I think it's a conversation that is important to have with the mental health community, yeah. Especially sort of the, holistic health, personal development community around like the order in which we go through things.
Yeah.
Like I've been on a roll for the last few days about the idea of self-love mm-hmm. and like totally important, yes. completely yeah. necessary. And if you can't start there, don't start there.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
love yourself.
Yeah.
And you spent your whole life fucking hating yourself. Yeah. That's like, fly, Brittany, fly,
right?
Just like
grow some wings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like start, it's like it's such a high bar. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking yesterday, like I love my wife, mm-hmm. and I do all these things that annoy her.
Yeah.
Not because I don't love her, but because they're habits.
Yeah.
Right. And so she's been working on me for a long time, and mm-hmm. and as I've gotten better at habit formation, I no longer leave the toilet seat up.
Yeah.
I no longer leave toothpaste residue in the sink.
Yeah.
But it wasn't because of love.
Yeah.
Right? It was because of, creating these habits.
Yes.
And like when I think about my hygiene, like if I go to a public restroom, I don't pee all over the seat.
Right.
Not because I love the next person,
right,
but because I don't hate them.
Right.
Right. Like let's make that our baseline.
Yeah.
Like treat yourself like someone you don't despise.
Yeah. 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 Sometimes we love others more than we love ourselves, and so it's easy for us to go the extra mile for other people when we love them. But when it comes to ourselves, we don't go that extra mile. So it's good that you said that, to treat yourself, like you don't despise somebody else. So that's a good way to put it, because if you do that, then you'll go the extra mile for yourself and putting in that extra work for that self-care, because that's so important. It's so important.
Right. So once you started changing the way you were eating, what other lifestyle changes followed?
So I started saying, and it has nothing to do with the food that I was eating. It was just me practicing more self-love and, saying no to things that I didn't want to do, because I was always a yes person, saying, yes, I'll do this for you. Yes, call on me whenever you need something. I'm the person to solve everybody's problems, And so...
it sounds like you sort of had taken that on around, like with your mom, like that was an identity that was important to you.
Yeah. Some things, that I was taking on, I didn't want to do, but I just did it because I felt like I had to do it, because, that was my family member, or that was my friend. It was my duty to make sure that they don't fail, but it was hurting me at the end of the day. And so, going through that time alone, because I kind of did, secluded myself from everybody during that time. And I learned about things that I like to do, learned about things that I didn't like to do, and stopped trying to be a people pleaser all the time. And so, I was saying yes to more things that, that I was interested in. Or if there was a goal that I was trying to reach, I was saying yes to everything that reflected that goal and no to anything that didn't. And so I felt like that was just raising my vibration. And I still love to serve others. I think I have the gift of service, and I thank God that I do. And so instead of me just doing for everybody, individually and things like that, I serve people who need it the most. And that's what brings me a lot of gratitude. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's so important, because if you don't set boundaries, you're not creating the space to be yourself.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly.
And it's really hard. It's almost like, I will eat junk food to get rid of a negative emotion, and the worst negative emotion I can have is caused by feeling like I've let someone else down.
Yeah.
And people are really good at, not without necessarily meaning to, making you feel bad for not doing things.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, like, you can't, some people will purposely, they know you. So they'll purposely be like, I can't believe you're not going to do this for me, or, make you feel bad. But when people start seeing others do for themselves and start loving themselves more, that's when they start to, kind of drag you down and talk you down. So that way you're not putting so much energy into yourself, but you're putting it back into them, because they're scared that they're going to lose that energy that you give out so much. So, just letting people know that that's going to happen. So be prepared for it. But yeah.
Okay. So there's the food, there was the respecting your own boundaries, and almost like creating the space to discover who you were.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like a lot of us, we just grow up getting other people's approval.
Right.
And when we create the space, it's like, what do I like?
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it can either be terrifying or like a playground.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people self-destruct, just needing validation from others. And when they don't get that validation that they want or that they're seeking, they kind of fall apart. So, taking that time out to know what you like, what you want to do, who you are, who are you, figure that out. So that way you're not depending on others and what they think of you and what they think you should and should not be doing.
Right. Yeah. It's even like, let me have a vote in my life.
Yeah.
I don't need all the votes to start. Right. Let me just practice having one.
Yeah. It feels amazing to have that kind of freedom and power over yourself. and not letting others have that over you. Yeah.
So once you started going there, how did your relationship with family and friends shift, if at all?
I think people still saw me, as the same person, as, goofy, funny, in the past, I would use jokes and being funny to hide a lot of issues that I was having. And just, using my smile to deflect all the pain I was going through. But now it's genuine, and people can feel it in my presence, when they come around. It's like, Brittany, there's something different about you, but it's like refreshing, and when you start doing those self-love practices and eating better, and your aura just changes, and people can see it and they can feel it. And even being so transparent on social media or with people in your life, they respect you in a different light because you're respecting yourself in a way that you never had before. So it's like they have no choice but to respect who you are. It's either you respect who I am or bye-bye.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of influencing your family, have they come along?
Oh, yeah. So when I was living in Texas, my aunt, she came to stay with us for a couple of, she was only going to stay for about a week or so. It ended up turning into a month. We were just having such a great time. And, when she first got there, she was like, I'm not doing any of this vegan stuff. I might try something here and there, but I'm not being vegan the whole time. Okay. And I'm like, yeah, okay. In my head, I'm like, yeah, right. But I was like, okay. So I did a lot of the cooking and, got her involved in the cooking. And it's like, wow, I didn't know vegan food could taste this good. And I'm like, well, what do you all think we're eating? We're just pulling grass out the roots or something? Like, what? And so, when she left, she took those things back home with her. And she's now getting like great doctor's reports. Her blood pressure went down, her cholesterol went down. A lot of issues that she was having with, excessive mucus and things like that is not really a problem anymore. So it's like, okay, Brittany, you knew what you were talking about, okay? So, and just having other family members see this is what's happening for this person. It's like, okay, Brittany, what I got to do? Just lay it on me, what I got to do. So they're definitely coming around, and being that was the main reason I changed my own lifestyle. It's just so gratifying to see and witness, even if they're not completely turning vegan, but just making those small changes in their life and them benefiting from it is just like, yes.
And I love that, your aunt came in with a no.
Yeah.
Like that's like, that allows her to protect herself.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm like, just let me make this. Just taste it, okay? And then she even ended up making I think it was a West African soup. And normally has like meat and animal products, but she made a vegan version for it for me, and I was like, wow, So I think it's important when we talk about our lifestyle that we talk about it in such a way that people can see that we're passionate about it. Not one of the angry vegans where it's just, constantly belittling other people about their own life choices, but just seeing that you're so passionate about it, they want to kind of be involved and respect it. I went to Puerto Rico a few months ago to do some mission work. And one of the women that we were fixing her house from the hurricane that came through, and she cooked for us. And, we were so happy that she did it because she didn't have much. So it's just like, we don't know what she had to go through to get this food for us, but she took time out of her day to cook. But she cooked, traditional Puerto Rican meat dishes. And so when she came and gave me my plate, it was just like, oh my gosh, how do I say no, in a nice way. And so, I pulled out Google Translate and, said I can't eat animal products because it'll hurt my stomach, And so she was kind of not upset, but she was sad because her motherly instinct wanted to feed us, from working so hard. And so she was a little sad, and I got sad, and so everybody's all sad. But the people that were with me, they were like, oh, she can't because she's vegan. She doesn't. But I'm like, I got this, I'm telling. And so the next day, we were, up on the roof and painting. And I'm like, does anybody smell food? I know she's not in that kitchen cooking again. We told her she doesn't have to do that. So I'm thinking, I'll just get some plantains, or because she had threw a little salad together for me the last time. And so I'm thinking I'll just get that again, which I was fine because I packed a lunch. And so she ended up making a whole vegan dish for me. And I was just like about on the brink of tears, like, you didn't have to do that. And everybody's just like, I want that. Yeah. But, she just saw how important it was to me. And the people that were there, that was their, we didn't know each other for long, but they knew how passionate I was about my lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And so them speaking up for me. I'm sure, when you go out to a restaurant, your friends are telling their waitress that you're vegan before you can say anything. But yeah, that's why I tell people, like, it's important to talk about it in, in a respectable way. Yeah,
and being sad is okay.
Yeah.
This isn't the worst thing that happened to
you. Right. So that was just really emotional. Everything was emotional while we were there. But for her to even take the time out to do that, like, she cooked 2 separate meals specifically for me. And I was just like, thank you.
Right. And she gets to feel like a giver.
Yes.
It's hard if you feel like you have nothing to give. You're just at the mercy of other people's charity. She was, asserting something really important in her life.
Yeah. I hate when people tell me no when I want to feed them, and they come over and you want something to eat? And they're like, no, and I'm just like, eat what I have for you. It's good for you. But yeah.
So I want to talk about your transition to becoming a professional, healthy person.
Yeah.
So what were you doing before, job or career-wise?
So I have a 9-to-5, doing help desk work, and I went to school and got my bachelor's of science in computer information systems. And it was not something that I really wanted to do. I just felt like it was what I was supposed to do, go to college.
This is a good, safe job.
Yeah. And, so I'm like, okay, this pays the bills, whatever. And I was like, how do I get the message out more about veganism and, how it's just, it's been so life-changing for me. How can I get the word out more? And I was just talking to my friend randomly. I'm like, I'm going to make T-shirts. And she was like, okay. And so, I came up with the name Prosperities because, to prosper is to do well, do great. And I was like, eating the right things makes you prosperous and wealthy, your wealth and your health. And I'm like, Prosperities, that's it. And so I just started, I started coming up with some slogans, and maybe several months later, I was like, I'm going to launch it. And so I was doing really great in the beginning, and then it kind of fell off because my job is so demanding. And I was like, it kind of fell off, and I was like, it's just going to be a side thing. And I was like, this year I started taking it more seriously. I'm like, veganism is growing, and people need to know what I have. I have a lot to give. I want to give all my energy into this, and it makes people feel good, seeing and hearing people how they felt, when they wear the shirt. That's like, oh, that makes me feel amazing. And so that was the first step, stepping into the business side or the professional side of my lifestyle. And then I was like, now how can I use this to help other people rather than just wearing T-shirts? And I was like, I want to help people that lived in the same neighborhoods that my aunt lived in. People that, you only have liquor stores and carryouts and, junk foods on every corner. I'm like, where's the health food store? You can't walk up the street and get a bunch of kale or anything like that. You have to depend on these local markets that have poor quality food. And so I was like, I want to help people in these type of communities. And so that's when I developed the Eat to Live project. And that's dedicated to helping people who are in need, living in low-income communities or just don't know where their next meal is coming from. And so the first project that we did was we went downtown in DC, and I collaborated with a chef. And it's funny how that came about because the first chef that I met with, You know, she was all about, you know, volunteering her time to do it and help me out. And then maybe about a week before the event, I just could not get in contact with her or anything. And it was, you know, I had to see from other people's social media that she had other things going on. And I'm just like, hey, just let me know, are you going to be able to do this or not? Because I had this date and letting everybody know that this is where we'll be at this time, but we have no food, we have nothing. And so that's when she was like, oh, I can't do it. And I'm just like, oh. So I just put the post out on Facebook, like, hey, I need a chef. Anybody know a chef? Let me know. And this guy named Daniel from Finishing Touches, he was like, I'll do it.
In DC?
Yeah. And so he, you know, we talked. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to feed, you know, I'm going to go down, feed the homeless people some vegan meals. And he had a restaurant that he was cooking out of. And so he was like, you know, we'll go to the restaurant depot, buy all the food, and we'll go to the restaurant that I cook in and we'll cook the food there. And I was like, oh, I'm getting a lot more than what I was going to get with the other person. So I'm like, you see, everything happens in divine order, the way it's supposed to. So I never have any worries now. And so, you know, I set up a GoFundMe. We raised money. And, you know, I took some of the money that I was making from the T-shirts to put towards the food and the supplies. And so the day came, so many people came out to support and, you know, help give out. You know, people gave gloves and socks and sweatshirts and T-shirts. And it was just the best thing I think I've ever done. Like, it was so humbling and it just felt so amazing. And we just set up like a whole bunch of food, buffet style, and let them come through and get vegan meals. And I'm like, I didn't say that it was vegan, you know, because, you know, when you say something's vegan, people are like, I knew that tasted funny or something. Right. And so that was the first project, and it was very, very successful. And I was like, we have to do this again. But I'm working on something new now, where it's not going to be for the homeless in particular, but I want to help single parents and to help them, you know, feed them and their child a week's worth of food. And, you know, I'm working with a registered dietitian to create a meal plan and put meals together in a grocery list. And I'll provide the grocery card, a gift card to their grocery store so that they can buy these foods and learn about it. And that's a little bit of it. I didn't announce it yet. Is that also
sort of combination GoFundMe and Prosperities sponsored?
Yeah. So that'll be the next Eat to Live project, educating single parents about why their children need to eat right, because that's a whole nother topic. You know, food insecurity, especially when it comes to children, is major right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you also have a couple of books, right? There's the ebook, and then there's the big book that I saw you actually had a copy on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah, it wasn't really. I was at a library, and I was like, just kind of visualizing how my book would look at a bookstore.
You did have a hard copy.
Yeah, I had a hard copy, and I just put it on there. I'm like, let me just see what this feels like. And so I took a picture of it, posted it, like, this is what it would look like if my book was at a bookstore. But
yeah, I have this this fantasy of taking a bunch of copies of my book and just putting it. You know, there's like that little bookshelf in Whole Foods. Like,
yeah.
Near the bulk section. Just like pushing the keto book to the back and just taking a stack of mine. People would pick it up and like, sorry, this isn't I don't know how to sell it to you.
Right. And so I that was my first real book. I had an ebook where I just had, you know, some recipes, and you know, a lot of people thought the food was delicious, and I was like, I'm not really a big recipe person. Mm-hmm. I want to put out something that's going to be more helpful to people, where, you know, that they can relate to and feel like they can make these changes. And so I talk about a lot of holistic practices that I was doing myself to bring me out of that dark space in my life. You know, doing some meditation and visualization, and just, you know, sitting still, letting the answers come to me. But also, you know, how I was eating, you know, herbs that I like to drink, the teas and stuff like that. And I put in a very simple step-by-step, day-by-day, like it's a juice cleanse in there, a liquid cleanse. It's a 7-day cleanse to kind of help people get that jump start to eating healthy. And then after that, there's a 3-day meal plan. But it's very specific. So that way, because I'm like, if I read something, I need to know exactly what to do. I need that hand holding. And so I was like, let me put it in a way, like if my nephew can't understand this, then it's too hard to understand. So put it in a, you know, in a way that if a child could read this, they would know what I'm talking about. They would be able to understand it. So also doing that for adults.
So what's the book called?
Holistic Mindfulness. Yeah, and it's just talking about being mindful about what you're doing to yourself. Being mindful about the things that you eat, you know, the changes that you want to make in your life and how to do it. Yeah.
And you said it's available on Amazon?
Yes. So if you look up Holistic Mindfulness on Amazon Prime, so you can get it in 2 days. And I made the price at $33.33 because I always saw the numbers 333. Always. I still do. And I'm like, those are my angel numbers, you know? And so whenever I see those numbers, I just stop and I just thank God for showing that to me. Like, I feel like those numbers were letting me know I was on the right path. Yeah.
Oh, do you remember? I don't know if you know Schoolhouse Rock.
Oh yeah, yeah.
3 is a magic number.
I didn't even realize that. Yeah.
Is it faith and hope and charity?
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
The brain and the mind and the body are 3.
Yeah.
3 is a magic number.
Oh wow. Okay, now that just gives me more.
I just outed myself as uber nerd.
That was a good one though. That was a good one. I like that. Oh man, that just makes me even feel more like, okay, that's the right thing. I was on the right path. Yeah. Yeah.
So one more question. So, you know, you talked about your conversion to a healthy lifestyle, a mindful lifestyle, and your business is like vegan, animal rights-ish. When did that switch flip for you?
So after, you know, I changed my eating habits because, you know, for health. That's how I started off. So I wasn't, you know, living a completely lifestyle where I gave up, you know, buying things that might have been like leather belts or whatever, because I didn't really have that specific knowledge at that time. And so once I started learning more about, you know, the animal agriculture and, you know, how animals are being treated, and I was like, oh my gosh, like there's no way I can support this in any shape, fashion, or form. I can't. And even just, you know, people would ask me like, so when is this going to end? You know, when do you go back to eating meat and stuff? And I'm like, never. You think this is a game? No. I'm like, this, you know, after learning what I've learned, I could never go back to that. Never go back to supporting that. And there's no such thing as humane, you know, practices when it comes to cutting your meat or killing an animal. There is no such thing. And so, you know, after just learning about that, I was just like, I have to put that out too. You know, just showing that animals deserve our utmost respect because they're also beings on this earth. We're not just here as humans alone and doing whatever we want to do. It doesn't work like that. You know, they also deserve the same peace and the rights that we do. As their space on this earth. And so it's like I have to put that out there too, you know, that, you know, show some respect for the animals. Yeah.
And do you think that attitude and mindset has also contributed to your personal health?
Oh yeah, being more compassionate, not even just towards animals, but just towards more other people, and, you know, respecting what they're going through. Because it, you know, when I first made the change, it was like, well, if I can do it, you can do it. You need to do it right now. But you know, being more, you know, respectful of people and where they are on their journeys. Just because I was able to give up all meat overnight doesn't mean that the next person will be able to. And so just having to, you know, being more compassionate towards what they're doing, even though I might not agree with it, you know, 100%. But, you know, I found that that's the best way to help people, is to work with them and not work against them. And so that's that, you know, having that same feeling for the animals, that compassion is like thinking about what the animals are going through. And I'm like, oh, we have to make this change. And so I respect, you know, where you are in your journey, but let me help to get you further. But, you know, So I started coaching people and helping them to make that transition into eating healthier. Because I know for me, it started with food, and then it grew more into compassion. I'm like, if it starts with me that way, it can start, that way for other people. So let me start with people and their diets, because that's what people are worried about the most. Yeah.
Right. So are you still 9 to 5ing?
No. Mm-mm.
So,
no.
That's exciting.
It is. It's scary and exciting at the same time. But no.
So you're doing the prosperities and the coaching, and you're funneling some of the income into Eat to Live.
Yeah.
So you are open to the divine showing you the path and trusting when you take those leaps.
Trusting it. I even thought about, doing something part-time that supports what I'm doing right now, where I can help more people. Haven't gotten there yet, but but now I just have all this energy to put into what I'm doing, and it just feels amazing. It feels amazing to be able to do that. Yeah.
So do you ever walk down the street somewhere and see someone wearing one of your shirts?
Oh yeah, I went to see Game Changers a few weeks ago when it came out.
Oh, which theater were you in?
Briar Creek. And I
was in I think Cary or Apex.
Okay, yeah. And I when I was walking out, I saw someone wearing that the Futures Plants T-shirt. I was like, oh my gosh. Or even just when people tag me on social media, and they have their caption that goes along with the T-shirt, and how it feels good to them to wear it, and so that makes me feel good. It lets me know that I'm doing the right thing. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So for people who want to follow you, who want to get your books, get your shirts, get coached, how do they find you?
Yeah, so you can, on social media, my name is Brittany Sade, and that's BRITTANY SADE _ on Instagram.
I'll include a link in the show notes.
Okay, yeah. And Instagram for the t-shirts is Prosperities Clothing.
Spell Prosperities.
PROSPERITEEZ. And you can find me by both names on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. My website is superveganpowers.com.
Superveganpowers.com.
Yeah. And the book is Amazon. Everybody's familiar with Amazon. Holistic Mindfulness. And get your book in 2 days. And then let me know what you think. Let me know if it was life-changing for you, or if there was something in that book that resonated with you to help you make some changes in your life.
Awesome. Well, Brittany Sade, thank you so much for driving out here, for sitting down with me, and for sharing your spirit and your wisdom and your experience with the crowd.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. Hope I can come back.
Oh, anytime.
I have crazy things to talk about. Yes.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you.